Coming up next, the last extensive interview with an iconic 80s singer before he passed away. I was really fortunate to speak to him about one of the most beloved songs of the 80s. He said when he and his guitarist wrote the opening line, they knew that life was about to change in a big way for them. It might be the most memorable opening line of the entire decade, with a decade full of them. Sung by one of the most underappreciated singers of the 80s. After they wrote that line, the song came effortlessly in about 10 to 15 minutes, and the song took them to the top of the charts. A couple of working class buddies were soon surpassing the Madonnas and Whitney Houstons and ZZ Tops of the chart, and it was something really special for him. The story of the interview is coming up. It's a can't miss on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember counting down the top 40 hits with Casey Kasem of the American Top 40 Countdown every single week, you're going to dig this channel. Nostalgia all the time. Make sure that you subscribe below right now. Click the bell, all that good stuff. And also check us out on Patreon. We have a lot of content there. So it's time for another edition of our show, Number One in Our Hearts. This is a show that honors songs that were so unbelievably great. They absolutely should have been at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. But at that time, they came up a bit short. Today, we're going to get the story of the 80s classic, Your Love, by the Outfield from the late Tony Lewis.
I just want to use your love tonight.
Tony passed away on October 20th of 2020. And I'm just so fortunate to interview him sometime before this, about all the hits, including this classic. Now, the Outfield was formed in London's East End by singer-bassist Tony Lewis, guitarist, keyboardist John Spinks, and drummer Alan Jackman. They were all actually in a power trio. It's called Sirius B a few years before this. But they didn't find any luck, as punk was all the rage at that point. So they broke up for a few years. But then they came back together under the name The Baseball Boys, which later turned into the Outfield. Even though they were a British band, they never did have success in their homeland, but they did in America in a big way. It started with their amazing debut album, Play Deep. That was with Columbia Records. That album hit number 9 on the album charts, and it sold over 3 million copies on the strength of the singles Your Love, of course, Say It Isn't So, and All the Love in the World.
Tell me I'm the only one. Say it isn't so. Without you, all the love in the world.
The band would have other hits thereafter with Since You've Been Gone, Voices of Babylon, one of my favorites, and For You. All great songs, though.
Been fooling around since you've been gone. Voices of Babylon streets. You know that I live my life for you.
The band took an extended hiatus in the 90s, but they came back together many times after that, releasing collections and playing one-off gigs. Guitarist, keyboardist, and main songwriter John Spinks, he actually passed away from liver cancer in 2014. Tony Lewis actually released a solo album in 2018. It was called Out of the Darkness, and he toured just before his passing. I got to tell you, it was so great to see Tony live. I saw him a couple times in the summer of 2018. Never got to see the Outfield at their peak, so that was really special. Up next, Tony tells the story of Your Love, and if Josie is a real person or a figment of our 80s imagination. This one's a can't miss, I'm telling you. For one of the most underrated vocalists of the rock era, here's Tony Lewis with the story of Your Love.
I don't want to lose your love tonight.
It seems like every decade has an iconic cheating song. In the 50s, it was Your Cheating Heart.
Your cheating heart will
60s, it was Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Oh, I heard it through the grapevine. Oh,
70s, Me and Mrs. Jones.
Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Jones.
In the 90s, it was Creep. And then 2000s, Cry Me a River, Justin Timberlake. Of course, in the 80s, it was the Outfield. And that was what Your Love was. This great rock song. Like you said, that was a song that you didn't even know if it would be a single. And it was the song of the summer in 1986. Play Deep comes out in 85, started just getting airplay like crazy. Went to number 6 here in America, number 7 on the rock charts. It crossed over. Tell me about how that came about.
Well, the song was originally, it only took 20 minutes to write. I was in John's flat, which you call apartment. I was in his flat and it was in the corridor, and he had a tiny little cupboard where he had a porch studio and an amplifier, and I sat on the amplifier and he said, write this down. Josie's on a vacation far away, and I've still got the original lyric sheet. I've still got that line paper, with all the biro marks on it and all the words. Come around, talk it over, something, and I sang it. Josie's on a vacation. Yeah, that'll work. That's a good little pop song. We didn't know it was going to be as big as it is now, and it was written so quickly.
Was Josie a real person? Who was Josie?
No, it's just not. It's not a true story. But I like putting a positive spin on a tragic story. You see.
Yeah, no kidding. Got a distinctive guitar riff to start out, and then it's got that unforgettable opening line, Josie's on a vacation far away, come around and talk it over. Right from there, you know what the song is.
Josie's on a vacation far away.
And throughout the entire song, it's like you're in seduction mode. But what's cool about it is you don't know what happens in the end.
Yeah. People still ask this, up till this day, who's Josie? Sometimes I make a joke, so it's Napoleon writing about Josephine, and he was out to war. They're like, oh, really? No. It's not about Napoleon and Josephine. Yeah. It's just a made-up story.
It is. It's a made-up story, but what makes it so great is the way that you put the vocals together, the arrangement of the song, the guitars. That's why I think that power pop, that classic power pop song. Tell me what you remember about arranging it and recording it in the studio.
Well, obviously it was done by, we had a pre-production thing with producer Bill Whitman, and we recorded it as a demo, as a pop song, and he made it a bit tougher. But, it's getting back to, we've grown up in the 60s, we're very influenced by The Who, because every time you hear a song, even Roger Daltrey would say, a lot of bands would play, dun, 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 but we used to go, dun, 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 attack it. We always attack. John loved cars as well.
You might think I'm foolish. Maybe it's
And that's how it sort of all came about. I remember doing the bass line with the drums, and it was tinged with sadness as well, because that particular day we put the bass down, John had lost his mum and he had to go, but it was something magical that happened with that bass and the kick drum, that I just knew it was going to be a big song. I just had it I had a feeling about it was going to be connecting. And with that that Josie's gone on vacation, especially on radio, I was always taught, you got to hit radio running, it's got to be the first line, it's got to grab people.
Yeah,
and
it definitely does. I love the guitar solo, and then the vocals in the bridge where it says, try to stop my hands from shaking. And then I love your line on, and don't forget what I told you. That's great. That's the way you sing that is just perfect.
close the door and don't forget what I told you.
Those classic background vocals, those harmonies, you guys did that as well as any rock band did. How did you put those together?
Well, me and John, even in the demo days when we was at Scarf Studios, we never worked things out on the piano or a guitar. John would sing one part and I'd go in and sing another part. Our scales were so far apart, it worked, because his voice and my voice just sounded like, when we do two voices, it sounded like four. And we never really analysed it. It's just something we did. It just happened.
It just gelled.
Yeah.
It's that magic of, you almost sound like your brothers. It's like your brothers.
Yeah.
What influenced you when you were singing? Because you've just got such a distinct voice. It's like the halfway point between Sting and Steve Perry, but completely original, like you've never heard it before. What were some of the vocalists that you grew up that you loved?
It's definitely, the most impressionable band or singer is definitely Sting and John Anderson from Yes. And that high, pure voice, the guy from Survivor, it's always appealed to me. And John was a very big Steve Perry fan. And I was, and still am. I remember in the 60s, there was this program called Rawhide. And was it Johnny Ray? Rawhide! My dad said, oh, you can sing really high, can't you? I said, can I? I didn't realise. So that, just having that sort of, having that scale, it was interesting. And when my reading of a song like Your Love, like any other song, I own it. I have to own it. It's like an actor. If you've got a script, you've got to own that script. And I just wanted to own that song, make it sound like it was, I knew what I was doing, but I don't.
When you did the music video, it's not like this grandiose music video. You're walking in and then it's a live performance. What do you remember about the music video stands out? Because all of a sudden you're on MTV.
I remember John saying to me, look, I'm not John Wayne and we're not actors. I just thought that we could just make music. I don't understand this MTV thing, but we went with it. We recorded the song in Queens, and I think we started it about 6 o'clock in the night time, at tea time. And we finished at about 5, 6, 7 o'clock. We come out of the studio and the sun was coming up, take after take after take after take. And at the start of the video, I've got long hair and I get my hair cut, and then it switches to Josie's on of it. And I've got short hair.
Yeah.
What was all that about?
That's right. Yeah.
And the video to this day still doesn't make sense to me, but it's about the song.
Yeah, it's true. You're walking in, you're showing people working together. You show the girl and everything like that, but it's really a kind of a live performance take, but it was all over MTV. It's also been used so much in pop culture. Tammy, did you see how they used it?
Yeah. Quite funny.
Then, of course, Family Guy has used it.
Joe is on a vacation far away.
It was on Grand Theft Auto, the video game. And it continues to find new audience. But the most interesting thing is when you look at all the covers that have been done. I mean, if you go on YouTube and you look it up, it's probably one of the most covered songs out there just by indie musicians. Musicians you haven't even heard of that have pretty good versions. Have you seen some of those?
Yeah, I mean, I like Katy Perry's version.
Did you
see?
Yeah.
Very, very different. That's probably why I like it, because it's not trying to, copy it note for note and line for line.
And Bruno Mars.
Yeah, I love Bruno Mars. What a great voice.
I know.
That's another voice I like as well, because it's that effortless pop voice he's got, and he's a big talent.
Josie's on a vacation far away.
My wife loves Bruno Mars.
Yeah. Well, and you could tell there's some influence there, because Locked Out of Heaven, very much a tip of the hat to you and Sting and kind of that feel of that power pop.
Yeah. And he's got that tone.
He does.
That will pop tone, that's not easy to get.
Your music video has hundreds of millions of views on YouTube. Did you realize that?
I know. I still don't realise. I realise how it's my favourite Outfield song, but it's hard to take it all in how huge it's become. It's almost as if it was a #1 song. It's number 6 Billboard. Being up there with Bruce Springsteen and ZZ Top, Madonna in the charts, you're like, us from East London? We're up there with the big boys. It was just, you couldn't fathom it out.
John, of course, passed on a few years ago from cancer, and just a phenomenal songwriter. You and he had this power together to create incredible pop songs that we're still listening to now. What stands out to you about John, memories about him?
We were very close. I've lost my big brother, really. I mean, I shared a stage with him the best part of 40 odd years, professionally with the Outfield, 33 years. And, he was always looking out for me. Every time I was in trouble and John was nearby, I felt safe. He was always looking after me, and he just wrote some great songs, and there's never going to be another John.
No, you're right.
Never going to be another John Spinks. And I vowed that I would never, ever go out and tour as the Outfield. I'm Tony from the Outfield, but I'm not going to put a band together called the Outfield, because when he passed away, that's when the Outfield passed away, because you would never get a better songwriter, guitar player, and person. And he was funny as well, really funny, and we were really, really close, and I still miss him.
Well, the new album, Out of the Darkness, and then the new single, Into the Light, which very soulful song. You can hear a tribute to John in there.
Yeah,
I could hear
I
it.
think the first 3 songs he was channeling me, I think. something was, of his was coming through me, because I wanted the album to have the spirit of Outfield, but my spin on it. Me and my wife went to a local pub, and she said to me, "Why don't you, I've taken a 4-year hiatus, and she's, why don't you, like, this is like after about 2 years of John's passing, she said, well, why don't you get back and just start recording? It's what you do best." So I started doing some backing tracks, and I lost my way a little bit lyrically. I was writing songs like, "I'm going out tonight, I'm looking for a fight." And she said, "Do you think people would want to hear that in a song?" I said, "Not really." And so she said, "Do you want me to give you a hand?" And she's very good at telling a story about life. So put some lyrics to the backing tracks, and it just all seemed to fall into place,
Yeah.
And some of the songs were written from scratch, from acoustic, recording into an iPad. And it was most easiest process of writing and recording I've ever known.
Well, if you close your eyes, when I was listening to the song when it came out, Into the Light, I mean, you sound like you sound in the 80s. I mean, your voice hasn't lost a step at all. I was impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all done with mirrors.
Yeah. No, it was great. And it's a great song too. Like I said, very soulful. And I like how it switches up at the end because, it follows the basic pop song. But then at the end, in the middle 8 there, you change it up. I love that.
Why can't you see all the changes you made in me?
And you can tell, I mean, I don't know, whatever people believe in a higher power, whatever, or beyond, but I think John was there in spirit for sure.
I think so. Definitely think so. I mean, if John hadn't passed away, we'd still be making Outfield albums. We wouldn't have given up. And he fought right to the last week of his life. He'd still wanted to record and wasn't giving up. But Into the Light, Out of the Darkness. It's got a couple of meanings. Out of the bereavement, but also, I've been known for all those years as the vocalist and bass player from Outfield, but I wanted to stand up and be counted. And look, I've got other strings to my bow. I produced the album myself, recorded all the instruments myself, and the bass and the guitars and the drums and the keyboards, and just wanted to see if I could do it. And with my wife's help, Carol, with the words, it all seems like a dream. I really don't know how I got here, but I'm here. It's weird. It's a nice weird.
It's a great return to music, man.
Yeah.
Looking back on your life, what are you most grateful for in this moment?
For a load of things. For having a great family, great wife, supporting family, great fan base. I mean, they've been there since we first started out, 84, 85. And the positive comments on social media, it's just amazing. I'm just very lucky. I'm a very lucky man to be out here in the US again, touring. This is my first tour for 14 years. That's a long layoff, and here we are, was it show 6 of the Retro Futura tour? And
I know.
Really.
When I saw you were coming, I was so excited. I've never been able to see the Outfield live. I mean, I grew up in Idaho in a small town, and I didn't ever get to see.
I've never seen them live either.
so I'm excited, but I got to tell you that it's been an honor to sit down with you, Tony. Like you said that you didn't know what to expect, but I know because my friends feel the same way, and we grew up listening to this music, that this music means a lot. It's the soundtrack to our lives. So thank you so much for the music, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Since you left, I've been missing you.
So the top 5 songs ahead of Your Love, the week that it peaked, were the following. At number 5, you had Live to Tell by Madonna. At number 4 was What Have You Done For Me Lately by Janet Jackson.
What have you done for me lately?
Why Can't This Be Love by Van Halen was at number 3.
Oh, tell me why can't this be love?
West End Girls by Pet Shop Boys at number 2. And The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston was at number 1. And guess what? Even though the Outfield finished below all of those songs and those artists back in '86, since then, Your Love has outstreamed and outpaced all of them. Your Love has over 1 billion streams. I mean, guys, there's only like a little over 30 songs from the 80s with over 1 billion streams. It's amazing. And it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of guys. We salute Alan Jackman, the late John Spinks, and the late Tony Lewis, the Outfield. Hey, leave us a comment about the Outfield and their catchy, cheating song, Your Love. What do you remember about this song and this band? Let's talk about it. Share your memories below. One of the most underrated singers of the rock era, am I right? And if you like our channel, we invite you to subscribe below. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Till next time, 3 chords and the dream.